other people have had more experience with Zoom in large meetings, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody should have access to the chat feature. So for me on my laptop, it's on the bottom of my screen. If you're on your phone, there's another option on your phone. And currently it is set up so that you can message everybody publicly, or you can, I think that's the default, where you can message everyone. And then you can also select somebody and write them a private message if you would rather direct your question to one particular person. So just to give it a try, for those of you joining us who did not formally introduce yourself, or if I cut you off from the recording, we can all kind of write in the chat box, maybe if you are an OT or a speech path or a parent, or just kind of give a little blurb about maybe your relationship to this little talk. So you can give it a try, and I can see it will be in the chat, which I think is also maybe recorded. So I don't see anything coming through. So I hope that the chat feature is working. Oh, good. Let's have all the participants do that. I'm sorry. Thank you for the clarifying, Tracy. Yes, if all participants could write who they are, how you would define yourself. And then actually one of the things that we thought as panelists we could say, just to kind of get the conversation started, was something that's been a little surprising to us, just with this new, the new direction we're taking in teletherapy, and something that's surprised us. And for me, just while we're talking, please do introduce yourself if you can. Oh, good. There are some developmental therapists. There's a speech therapist in private therapy, used to home-based therapy, now doing teletherapy or interested in it. So with AAC, which is a challenge. I was surprised that one of my little guys, he's almost 3 years old, and he's always on the move. And I found, like, we were just doing a 20-minute trial this week with a lot of my kids, and much better eye contact. I could tell he was so tuned in to, like, my face when I would be doing something. It was just kind of wonderful to see extra eye contact, because we're usually playing with cars down on the floor. So that surprised me. Any other surprises from our panel?
I would have to say my 2-year-olds sat through 30 minutes of therapy, so it can be done. And I can give tricks, later on how to manage that.
Great.
I would say I've really enjoyed sort of planning with the parents, and that's been a big shift for me, right? Because typically kiddos come into session and we're playing and engaging together, and then families join me generally for the last 15 minutes or so of our sessions. And so this has been a really cool opportunity to just really be intentional in terms of planning with parents, whether that's exchanging of materials in advance, or really parents kind of coming up with some really cool ideas in terms of the materials they may already have that could really support the therapeutic process. So that's been fun.
Mm-hmm. I use a lot of regulatory strategies with my kids, typically at the start of the session and throughout the session, and I have been really surprised with how willing my clients have been to engage in their regulatory strategies with me just talking them through it and not physically being present. And we have a sensory gym in my office too that we often use, and they've just been like, getting up, and one of my clients was doing his wall push-ups, and his mom was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "My wall push-ups were receiving." So it's just been so nice to see how much you could, almost gives you a chance to see how much the kids really retain from your sessions, because they have to be so much more independent with it for our older friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been surprised at how much more creative our therapists have all kind of become.
Definitely.
We're kind of used to sometimes, we have a certain way of doing things, or there's certain techniques that we may use. And I think teletherapy is kind of really bringing out the best in all of our therapists as well, in terms of the creativity process and trying to find ways and different ways to connect with our clients, and especially with the children.
I think one surprise also that's sort of universal and not discipline specific is how in a lot of ways it actually doesn't feel that different. Even though we're not there, we're not in the room, I think some of us are more intimidated by this idea of doing things so differently. And then once you start your session and kind of get into the groove, you realize that you are back in your very familiar rhythm with your families, and the things that you thought would be obstacles really don't seem to be that way at all.
I think you don't realize that until you do it.
That's
you
what I mean.
know, like I have my new quote is right here. It's guiding me, and it just says, the most effective way to do it is to do it.
Love that.
Because I was getting so like bogged down. I mean, for me, you know, with all these trainings, you need boom cards and you need, you know, different like interactive materials, because it's true, a lot of the materials that I have in my closet I can't use, you know. I mean, you can't reach through and play Candyland through the screen. So, but there's a virtual Candyland board, right? And we can find those things. But then it was like, I need to get this or research this, and it's like, just do it. You'll be fine. You will find a way to do it. So I needed that for me. So I'm surrounding myself with positive messages.
Well, and I think something that some of us shared in planning for tonight was just how really good it was to connect with the kids and families that are on our caseloads, because this is a really unique situation that is affecting everyone, right? And so, you know, for some of us, maybe we missed a week because we needed to make this transition to telehealth, and a lot happened maybe in those 2 weeks then since we saw them last. So for me, it was really powerful to just see the kiddos and the families and the folks that I support. Felt really good.
Well, please use the chat feature to chime in or ask questions, because I know we're all very eager to get the conversation going. It is tricky with a lot of people, and I appreciate your help, Tracy, about unmuting when you're talking and then maybe muting when you aren't talking. I don't know how comfortable we are, right, for the panelists too, right, because everyone else is muted. So sometimes when we're typing or saying, I guess it's hard to hear the speaker. So it's very good feedback. So, but no, Heidi, you are not the only one. We are all feeling in this boat. There's also, I believe, a hand raise feature. So if you do have something to add or a question, we can certainly have you participate there as well. So, but please ask away. We'll get this conversation going. I know that some, can I share something that that I found? I'm new to all of this too, but I'm going to screen share. Please, especially a host, let me know because you're unmuted, if you can't see this. But I'm going to screen share something that I found really helpful from another conference. Did any of you go to the SLP Telecon? It's the one with the, they were free and there were like 6 modules. Anyways, it's still available there. I can share the link for it, but I'll write it in the chat too. SLP Telecon. It was directed for speech therapists, but they had a lot of really great talks, and one of the speakers is Jenny Bjorn, who is kind of a specialist in the world of apraxia, but she has these beautiful graphics, so don't think I made them, because I definitely did not, but I've been sharing them with all of the families that I work with before I come. So there's this, you can see this?
Yep.
Yes, it's small, so I will make it bigger, but there is a teletherapy checklist for parents about getting prepared. It talks about cleaning the room, finding seating that works, setting up your computer, having some toys and activities ready to share, and providing a visual schedule. She loves this app, ChoiceWorks, and I've since downloaded it because you show me an infomercial and I'll probably purchase it. So I just kind of go with everything that's available. I found it somewhat helpful. And then there's another one, a complimentary one for therapists that she's made. I thought that was great because we have both therapists and parents here. So a teletherapy checklist for therapists about getting prepared. So sending the schedule to parents, like you were kind of talking about, Kim, like ahead of time, sort of planning, being prepared to play. So just because we're over the computer, like we don't just need to sit in our chairs. We're going to be moving around, doing those wall push-ups, Amy, or like doing the different things. Prepare your desktop. So sort of like I tried to have these all pulled up already so that I'm not like searching through files and everything. Hillary was talking about getting creative. Step up your silly game to keep the kids involved. And we already said, kind of get ready to move. So I found these checklists just to be, I don't know, kind of helpful. Did that resonate with anybody? Getting the conversation going. So join in.
I think, I mean, at least for me, I knew that I needed to tell my families what to do in advance, but I think that was very helpful to have the visual already made, you know, just to be able to send them and have them feel like they're getting a heads up and can really prepare in an organized way. So I love them. I think they're super cute.
Hillary is talking, unmute.
There we go. I was going to say another thing that we also did in preparation, you know, with the list that you just put up, is we also gave them some technical cues as well. So we said when we're going to be doing teletherapy, to make sure that if there's other people working in the house or other kids that are on the internet, we found that the internet connection is kind of slowed down. So we gave them a list of, here are things that you can do to kind of create a space and to enable us to be able to continue on the session without it kind of breaking down a little bit. And so some of those things included making sure that if there are other people who are on the internet, is it possible to have them, you know, slow down or turn it off during the session. We talked about, you know, putting up a sign on the door depending on where they were, so that if siblings were in the room, that they knew that they should leave their siblings and the parent alone during that session. But we had a whole little checklist of different things that they could do to ensure success during that teletherapy session as well.
Yeah, I think preparing them for glitches. I thought it was kind of funny that I have a troubleshooting technology page, and my husband's like laughing at me like, who are you to come up with a technology troubleshooting page? Amy has something to say.
Sorry, I think you had muted it. But we have found that, especially for our counseling kids who are a little bit older, we've had to have just a good discussion with the parents about setting boundaries. We've had some parents who want to stay present in the room the entire time, but their the child is really seeking that kind of private one-on-one time with the therapist. So definitely kind of setting that expectation with the parent of, are you going to be involved in the session for the whole time? Is it going to be more of our typical structure, 45 minutes with the parent in at the end for the last 15 minutes? And so kind of presetting those boundaries ahead of time has been really helpful for our therapists.
Unmute. Okay, yes, I was. I'm trying to do what they're saying. Okay, so it looks like I was chatting just to one person, and I wanted to tell everybody, yes, I will definitely provide links to the telecon conference I was talking about. I know there was another one called Teletherapy Boot Camp. What was it called? Something Boot Camp.
Yeah.
What was it?
I think that's what it was. I can look it up.
Yeah, well, I'll provide both of those links. The one that was the boot camp one, you only got continuing education credits through ASHA if you attended live. So those are done, but you can watch the recorded one. I believe there's a price.
Yeah, it's speechtherapypd.com. That's who hosted it.
Okay, for like professional development.
For professional development, right.
Yes, and I'll provide those links. For both of those. Were there other ones put on by like OTs or PT or other social work or?
Yeah, I can certainly share a couple links. I know the Chicago School of Professional Psychology put on a pretty awesome one that they are now allowing for, I think, anybody to receive via email. And then also PESI has one that's typically, I think it's about $450 typically, and they're offering it for free. It's a 12-hour training, so it's long, but it's good.
And I know feeding related, Beth, that Melanie Potok is doing her typical Monday night, I think it's Facebook Live with a yet to be named speech pathologist. She's building the curiosity. She hasn't said who it's going to be yet, but I'm going to tune in. It'll be interesting, I'm sure.
It's not you, is it?
It is not me.
Well, that's good. And I think that there will be more and more of these. So let's make sure we, share those good resources. Melissa, unmute. Did that
Thank
work?
you.
Sorry
Yes,
about that.
that's okay. I just wanted to share from a parent's perspective, as far as checklists and different things like that. So our therapist, for my 6-year-old, sent over all the worksheets she was going to do ahead of time so we could print them out for his OT. She sent the checklist of everything to have in hand. The one big thing is that he got off topic, even if I was in the room, even if I wasn't in the room, so we had to get him back in. So there is some, leeway there that therapists aren't always thinking about, plan for extra time, maybe plan, if your session's 45 minutes, just plan for 30 minutes of content within that, because kids are gonna be distracted from the littlest noises. Oh, look, there's a squirrel, type thing. And with my 2-year-olds, same thing. And it was funny because, my 2-year-old was in physical therapy and I had to be in the room because I had to do everything for that. But the one thing that was awesome about her therapist was she had things that they would normally do within physical therapy in the therapist's office, but she also was like, okay, that's not working right now. Let's play Play-Doh right now, or, different things like that. Just have extras on hand that you may not necessarily work with in that session, just to kind of keep them drawn back, which is a huge thing.
Well, and I just want to add to that. I think Stephanie, maybe you mentioned it she did a whole Chicago feeding group, a talk. And it was, one of the things was that after the child was done eating at the table, there was some time to just talk with the parent. And it's like, okay, you can go play. It's time now for us to brainstorm and reflect. And sometimes you can't do that in front of the child, right? So Stephanie, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think that, well, two things. One, just to build on what you just said about the distractibility, is I'm wondering if you as the parent felt pressure to keep him in front of the computer sort of engaged, because I think the parents of the kiddo that I worked with on Wednesday, or what day is today, you guys? Oh my God. Yes, Wednesday.
Saturday.
What day is it? They seemed very anxious and nervous about the fact that he kept getting up. And in our regular sessions, we're at the kitchen table and we get up to get ingredients and spoons and bowls, and we think of things and we run to the pantry. And so that's our typical dynamic. But I could tell that they were a little bit nervous because maybe they didn't realize. I quickly told them that it's okay if he gets up as we normally do. But I'm just wondering, did you feel any of that as well, or not?
Not really. I mean, I was kind of sitting there holding my iPad, so she could see him do his things. But at a certain time, she's like, just put the iPad down. Whether he's in the middle of the camera or not, it's not going to be a big deal. I can hear him doing his, wall exercises or whatever he's doing because he's very loud. But with my 2-year-old, even, it was the same exact thing. just put the camera down. If she's in, you know, the middle of the camera, great. If not, you know, it is what it is, you know.
Good. So she gave you a nice heads up.
Yeah.
And then Beth, what you were saying about just having that time to talk with his parents after we were done with the meal. Yeah, I mean, this particular guy usually heads into the other room and starts to play with some toys, but I do think that it's nice because we're sort of forced to, and I don't say that in a bad way, but we are doing our due diligence and preparing. We're really talking to parents beforehand and sending them information beforehand and getting a really good sense of what's going on. And then being able to kind of have them allow their kids to go and maybe do something else for the last few minutes of the session, and being able to have that kind of wrap up with the kids, because of course, like, none of us want to talk about kids in front of kids is the point that I think we were saying the other night. And so it was nice to have that time with his mom, for sure.
And so something that has come up a little bit is, how do we work with kids that are birth to 3? And I know, again, I'm just going to say I'm very aware that EI is not yet covering this, but hopefully this will be coming down the road. And in my own private caseload, I mean, I see kids under 3 years old. And so, like, what are the expectations for the younger child versus the older child? You know, Amy, you have something to say about that? Hold on, let's unmute you. Okay.
So we have a fair amount of birth to 3 kids that we see in the private market, and then also lower functioning 3-year-olds that we have as part of our therapeutic preschool. And I think that anxiety that Stephanie was mentioning that she was feeling on the part of the parent is also felt on the part of the therapist at times. And there, you know, we have with some of our lower functioning kids, our therapists are thinking, you know, how am I feeling this session? What am I doing here? Like, is this therapeutic? Am I trying to stretch this out? And I've really encouraged them to you know, work with their clients for as long as is therapeutic, and then just feel comfortable at that point to switch over to a parent coaching, to providing parent education, and be okay with that, because that is a huge component of the therapy process. And we have gotten such positive feedback from our families who have just been so grateful to have this time to talk with a therapist. And normally it's just such a rushed experience of, like, the therapist trying to say 45 minutes of information and, you know, in 12 minutes or so. And so it's actually been, you know, quite an amazing experience for many of our parents to have, you know, maybe the therapy session's a bit shorter, but that connection with the therapist is there.
Hillary or Kim, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I guess I'm just putting my parent hat on now, and you know, really relating to what you're saying. And you know, I think as parents of kiddos who receive therapy, that right, there's a lot of training that happens for the parent in those sessions. But sometimes parents do just need that opportunity to connect and really to be coached and to be supported in the work that they're doing all throughout the week on behalf of their child. And so it does provide for some really unique opportunities for the kiddo to just kind of run in the other room. Whereas if you're in the clinic, then the child's in the room or right outside the door, and you're trying to get in the conversation as you get out the door and hoping there's no meltdown on the way. So I think you bring up a good point, and yeah, it's a beautiful opportunity for families to get that one-to-one.
I think
go ahead, Hillary.
I was going to say something that I think we've also noticed, which has been a really positive benefit, is that in addition to what everyone is saying, when we have sent materials in advance to prepare for the session, we feel like, you know, normally you've got like that 15 minutes at the end where you're trying to connect with the parents and give them a lot of information, but they're almost a little bit better prepared as well to engage in a conversation and understanding kind of what the session is going to be about. And so we've really found that engagement, sometimes even letting people know in advance, this is what we're going to be doing, here's the handouts, has allowed the parents to really kind of become a little bit more involved and have a little bit more awareness and be prepared with different questions that wouldn't necessarily come up when you're racing and your kid's attention is done at the end of the session and they're like, okay, what can you tell me? My kid's running out the waiting room. So That's one thing that I think has really been a benefit as well in terms of parent engagement.
There's a comment here from Brooke Schneider, who has an ABA clinic, that says that sometimes so that they don't speak in front of the child and say, you know, too much, they have ear pods. So they can, you know, they encourage the parent to wear ear pods so they can be really in their ear, you know, telling them, you know, ideas and coaching. I have a very brief, I timed it because I spliced it. It's only a 2-minute video. I'm going to screen share it, and it's a really beautiful video from the New York City early intervention. Actually, I don't know. It's from New York City. It was like a big video to promote their early intervention program, and it talks about parent coaching and the benefits of parent coaching. And we know that that is one of the roles that we play, but I think that this just did a really good job at demonstrating it. So I'm going to show off my cool new screen sharing abilities again, and open it really big. We're only going to watch about 2 minutes of it. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. I'm going to want a thumbs up that you can hear the video too. Hold on.
¿Cómo ha funcionado lo de las manos?
Está muy bien porque ya agarran muchas mejor las cosas.
Y el consejito
What? Hold on.
que yo te di de ponerle la mano así, ¿funcionó?
Sí.
Sí, tú viste cuando le enseñas la mano así, él como que te entiende más que es que coja la bola.
Sí.
Okay, good.
What our goal is through all of this is to empower families and give them the skills and the knowledge so that they can use the everyday routines and everyday learning opportunities to present activities to the child or engage the child in activities that will help this child develop to the best of his or her potential.
I think the biggest misconception is that embedded coaching is about coaching parents to become therapists. It's not. It's really about supporting parents to be parents. Parents are supporting a child's development throughout the day. Parents are the first and best teachers of children, and embedded coaching is about supporting them in this very important role.
Very often when parents are told that their children qualify for services, somehow the parents feel that they can no longer help the child develop. That's kind of like taken from them. And then we go back and we restore that. And if I'm just there to coach them, what happens when I leave has no limits. ¿En dónde mami? ¿Ven? ¿Dónde mami? Vaya, ¿dónde mami? Vaya.
¡Bravo!
¿Te quieres quedar ahí o quieres echarte un poquito más para atrás?
Para atrás. Vamos atrás.
You know how many children walk to me in 32 years of practice? They should have walked to mommy. In Andrew's case, he walked to mommy. He didn't walk to me.
Before it was hard for me. Now he was able to walk by himself and play with his brother. Now they're able to do like the stuff he's not able to do before, and now he can do it. So he do very well.
I went into this profession to help, and I had learned that with my hands I help, but I can also, you know, help people with my voice and with my ideas. I'm impacting not just that moment, I'm impacting a lifetime, I'm impacting a family. Because the parent starts thinking, I can solve this problem. Now I get a double reward. The child makes progress and the parent feels wonderful. There's nothing better than that.
Ah, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So I just thought that was such a good, what did you think? Got me emotional watching it. And I like the message that really it is about the parent and our role. She can help with her hands, but she can help with her voice. And whether she's in person or behind a screen, I think that's a good thing to remember for those of us that do the early intervention part. Thank you for sharing that, Haley. I thought that video was amazing too. And so, again, I can post the link to it. It's a 6-minute video. And at the beginning, they talk about how they're twins. Oh my God, they're so cute. these cute little kiddos. So, and I thought that professional really hit it right on. So, anyways, we're not getting a whole lot of questions from the group, and I know you do. Yes, I can definitely share the link. I will definitely share everything that I post. I just can't multitask as well as Tracy and I think that I could. Tracy has been here from, you know, the beginning when I started this, and I really appreciate your help. So, okay, so we talked about the birth to 3 crowd, but there's also the older crowd. Melissa, you are on mute. Do you mean to be still? No. Okay, let me help you. Okay, I've unmuted
My
you.
kids were just loud in the background. So
Oh, okay, okay. I just didn't know. I didn't before there was. Should we talk about some of the older kids a little bit then and how it's different? I've gotten some questions about how my kids are not going to sit in front of a computer screen. And what does that really look like? Who wants to talk? I mean, I will always talk.
I see a fair amount of, I mean, relatively older kids, you know, kids in the 6 to 11-year-old age range. And I have not experienced that at all. They've all been really excited to come to the screen. We've played lots of games, just like we normally would in therapy. And, you know, I don't know if I'm just got lucky with that, but I certainly have, you know, they're very excited to come. It's never about like, oh, I don't want to go sit at the device for an hour. They've really been very kind of into maybe the newness of it. We'll see, you know, what that looks like if we're doing this for a while. So
yeah, I mean, for my 6-year-old, he was super excited to come and like see his therapist in a new way, you know, so like he was more excited than usual, like going into, you know, into the office. So it's definitely, hopefully it will continue that way, but we'll see.
Amy, I was going to ask, do you have examples of activities you've done with your kids, or you know what?
I have one sitting right next to me. So sometimes for my kids who were working on executive functioning, we'll play it both ways. You know, they'll get to do it and I'll get to do it, but I will pick a random object. And then they have to initially ask category questions. And then once they figure out the category question, they have to ask specific within category questions until they can figure out what I have. And I try to get like silly things like this is a Batman little people person, or like I've done it like with a cowboy hat or something, and they just think that is just the funniest game when they kind of see like what random object I've come up with.
That's really funny that you say that, because this is what I've learned about my house is that it's very like open concept. I think I was telling Stephanie about this, and I was like, where can I go where the door closes? Because I can't have my children hearing everything. So I'm in like a downstairs new office, we'll call it, not an extra bedroom at all. And behind me is this ledge. And I was like, I think I'm going to have some little guy up here at the beginning of each session and be like surprised who's behind me, who can give me clues. And I kind of decided to just go with this ledge and not put flowers or something, you know, decorative, but instead be surprised that somebody could be behind me and can you tell me? So it's funny that you do something similar like that. Any other good ideas to keep attention?
I've been able to do, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kim.
Just thinking again about some of the older kiddos, I've still been able to do a lot of artwork. And so, you know, a lot of my older children, so talking 10, 11, have really been having quite a bit on their minds related to COVID-19 and school closures and e-learning and being at home. And so one activity in particular that we did was looking at, we kind of called it like a silver lining. So the kids drew like a picture of a cloud with, like a thunderstorm, and underneath their cloud were just different pictures of things that they were really sad about in terms of, whether it was school closures or not seeing their friends, and then on the back side, a rainbow with, sort of a sunshine and sort of the silver lining. So more time with their families and more time to play catch with dad. And, just some really beautiful examples of, ways that kids are processing sort of their fears and their worries around this, but also seeing some really hidden gifts in their time at home and with their families. So that was pretty powerful.
I love that.
You can't ignore what's going on in the world right now either.
Yeah, some are not, at the age or ready to have explicit, conversations around it, but others really are, and they've got lots of kind of big thoughts and feelings, and, kind of need to have a space to be able to share that.
Stephanie, were you going to say something before?
A couple things that worked really well in one of my sessions was I knew the child that I worked with had a dry erase board and I had a dry erase board. So we made our schedule together and we each wrote the same thing on our schedule. And so it was kind of fun to do that together. Actually, his mom wrote it. And then we cooked together. So it was really fun, just the things that kind of grew out of that. Like we were comparing like my pepper container with what his looked like, and my tuna fish and my mayonnaise container with what his looked like. So some things just sort of organically grew out of the fact that we were in different places using different things. So like, I don't know, if you're doing speech and language and you both have your Mr. Potato Head set, I have a blue hat. Do you have a blue hat? There's all kinds of things that you can talk about because you're not together. So those things just sort of popped up and unfolded in a really fun way.
Hillary, any kind of materials or examples of activities? I think parents don't know really what it's going to look like,
Sure. So I know one of the things that we started doing early on after we did a training for behavioral health, I know our OTs and our speech therapists are doing something a little bit different, and we actually have an app that has interactive games that they can do in terms of speech activities. And so prepping the families has kind of helped with that. But for behavioral health, one thing that we did, because we do a lot of play therapy, a lot of sand tray, is that we found that if we gave the parents a list of materials beforehand, then we were able to engage in activities. And for like sand tray, one of the things that we found is that if you get, like you can get it on Amazon. And so we told some of the parents who really are involved in sand tray and imaginative play, you get these little Zen gardens and they're like $10, $12 sent out. And so we told them in advance. And then even though in our office we have like whole panels full of different figurines that we use in imaginative play, kind of like everyone's saying, we would have kids kind of bring some of the objects that they wanted to do, and we were able to do some sand tray activities with them in their own home, while the therapist is also doing sand tray and imaginative play too. So in addition to our normal, make sure you have crayons, markers for behavioral health with kids, we were also giving them some different suggestions, like have some Play-Doh ready in case we're going to do sculptures, or having different materials, and then letting the kids kind of also guide that in terms of what materials do you want to use today. And that's been really helpful in terms of kind of starting out some of the art therapy that we normally do at the clinic.
I'm going to share something that I did, again with the screen share. You won't all see my email this time. How about that? And it was an interactive book. Have you ever tried this? There are tons of free interactive books on YouTube. And what I liked about it most about, now I had the hard copy here just in case, because we need the contingency plan, the going on a bear hunt. But I think I see one of our participants, I might have done this in your therapy session. But I did it with a lot of the kids this week just as a trial. And what I liked is I could start and stop it as we went. And, as therapists, we go into a session, I know we're supposed to be bagless, but sometimes we would go in with a bag of stuff, a bag of materials, and we would use that bag almost all day long, right? And we're really good at adapting the particular game or story for that child. So we'd be working on different things. We're not reading the same story all day long, doing the same exact routine every day. But with this book, I was able to adapt it for a lot of different kids. And I'm going to share the screen again and just show you what I did with going on a bear hunt. Just because I thought it was kind of cool. I had the kids watching this and I was stopping it, and this is the end. This is the climax of the story where they find the bear, because that's the most fun.
We're going on a bear hunt, we're gonna catch a big one. What a beautiful day, we're not scared.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, what do they see? What do you think's in there? And we would stop, and we would talk about the cave.
A cave. A narrow, gloomy cave.
We can't go over it, we can't go under it. Oh no! You've got to go through it.
So we'd all tiptoe, or whatever we would do, and I would stop at any of these points just to kind of engage the kids again.
Tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe.
What's that? One shiny wet nose, two big furry ears, two big goggly eyes. It's a bear!
Ah! And we'd say, run home. Where are they going? Run, run, run. Go faster.
Quick! Back through the cave! Tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe.
You guys get the hang of this. So we don't have to do the whole rest of the book. Do you see in the very bottom of my screen where it says The Very Hungry Caterpillar? Can you see that? That is what one of my kids focused on during this activity. So you may want to do the very, very full screen version, because I was like, yes, that's up next, I guess. So of course, you pull this up where there is no ads on the YouTube screen, and you make it appropriate. But this was so cute. I don't know if are you familiar with this book really well? Because at the very end of this book, at least at 9, I know that we're still in screen share mode, but hold on, let me see if I can angle it. There's this one page where they go in the house, they go up the stairs, they forget to close the door, they have to go down the stairs and close the door. And it's so fast, and it's so like 2 pictures on the same screen. With this one, when they're running, and they get home, I mean, I could stop it and say, here.
Was she?
Oh, go, run. What should they do? Tell them, knock, 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 open the door. I mean, I could pause it and we could work on whatever. And then they go upstairs and they forget to close the door. I mean, it became like what was usually, here, what do I do? Stop share. What's normally like maybe a 5-10 minute book became like a 20-minute activity, because we were like really playing around with it. So I don't know, sometimes I thought it was just helpful to see what an activity that you could do, that yes, it is, what am I saying, 3D, an item that we have that we couldn't show through the screen, but there are these virtual ways of adapting an activity. We all know how to read books with kids, but just to keep everyone engaged. So Heidi said that there was a magnetic board with story scenes, and that she had her kids kind of direct where it was going. I've seen some virtual ones too, like, those folder games where you open it up and there's little magnetic pieces. I've seen them so they're on the screen and you can move the mouse over to where it goes. So that's kind of cool. Oh, yes. Stephanie, thank you. A different Stephanie, sorry. I did do this with your kiddo, and it was very engaging, and the physical part made him feel more confident, but he was also we were running and screaming, and it wasn't just like staring at a screen. And one of the conferences that I was listening to was kind of talking about how do you describe to parents that you're going to be through a screen when the AAP, American Academy of Pediatrics, has no screen time. But I think it's super different than sitting a child down in front of an iPad and saying, you know, watch this show. Does anyone want to chime in about that? Or
there's some good research out there that even though screen time generally like should be limited, but there's some good research about how kids learn through interactive screen time rather than this sort of non-participatory screen time where they're just kind of watching the stimulus. When the person on the screen is making contingent responses, so responding based on what the child has said or done, that condition, I believe in this one study, I think there were probably multiple, made the difference in terms of the child's learning and the gains that were measurable. So that's something nice to be able to share with parents, is that there is a distinct difference.
right. Tracy said you can mail play therapy kits to the clients ahead of time because getting mail is a blast. I'd love to know what you mean about the play therapy kits. So maybe like instead of saying here to the parent, print it out, maybe you're mailing it to them. I've seen something where they've talked about making art together. Again, my fun new ledge, I could use it as a thing where they tell me where to glue things and then you put it in the envelope and mail it to them. Because I agree, getting mail is super fun. I'm loving my ledge all of a sudden. It is about creativity though, Hillary. Oh my gosh. All sorts of new things. Okay, Tracy, I hear what you're saying about using children's books. What do you say? Make sure you aren't saving videos of yourself reading books on YouTube or using Facebook Live and reading books. Authors are filing copyright lawsuits. Well, I'm not recording any of these, and the trainings that I've seen, not to be argumentative, just to be clear, we're just sharing the video that someone else has made. And actually, there are ways that you can even, some of the conferences I went to, I'm just regurgitating what I've learned, but they say that they've taken screenshots of different pictures of the book, uploaded them to an app, and then they can, or to like a PowerPoint slide presentation, and you can read them with your children in therapy that way. It just seems like a lot of work to upload every page, you know, and they say that you're able to do that because you're not selling it or sharing it. Even with other colleagues, you can't, you know, like if you buy something on Teachers Pay Teachers, that's for you. You can't then share it and say, oh, I really think, you know, Kim would like this. I'm not going to be able to send that to you, Kim. So I was told as long as you are, even if you're just screenshotting photos and putting it in your library, if it's for educational purposes and you're not sharing it or selling it, you're okay. But I'm not a lawyer, so definitely do what Tracy says too. Because yeah, nobody wants a copyright lawsuit. Oh, your therapy kit is a Ziploc bag with basic play items like Army Men, Play-Doh, markers, paper, etc. Oh, wouldn't that be cute? And then you can pull it out and say it's time for therapy with Beth or whatever. Let's get our play kit. That's a cute idea. And Heidi says so many kids FaceTime with relatives, so it's like an extended video call. It is, and I think that the more we can encourage them to use a laptop, the better than an iPad. Anyone have examples of that? Like following the child around with an iPad. So, oh, you can read books to kids. Someone talked about reading kids' books on their Facebook Live. Oh, okay, I understand. You can't do that because that's widely available. Thanks for clarifying. Books is great, somebody says. Mindy, I've signed up for Books. It's BOOKS. It's all in the chat here if you're not following along. They're giving away a free membership, I believe. So you can sign up. I have it for free. Oh, $4.99 per month. I think it's free because I signed up for free. And it is videos of people reading books. So you can do that. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I think that would be something to explore. Other websites or good things you have found? That Storyline Online, I know I shared a little bit ago. That's celebrities reading books. A little harder to pause. Yep. Get Epic is another one for books. Boom cards are really big. Do you want to see one of those, or? Yeah, you do? Okay, boom cards is something people have talked about a lot in the speech therapy. I did not know what these were. Okay, so back to my, here's boom cards. This is just an example I pulled up. So like, for example, there's tons and tons of free ones right now, especially because it's like Teachers Pay Teachers. People will post them and you can purchase them, but you can also find free ones. So like, you can move this to red, you can move this to yellow, and then, well, I only know this because I've done this one a million times this week, is that when you're done, you're right. But if you only do like 2 of them, or if you get it wrong, whoops. So, I mean, they have them for a lot of different things. This was just an easy one I pulled up. I really downloaded, I think, every single free one because I'm that infomercial person, so don't be like me. But anyways, I wanted to, I know we just have a few minutes left, but I wanted to show you, of course, our great website. You should all know about cityofsupport.org. And right here, it says sign up here. This is an email list. That's all it is. If you may have gotten one today. I send out about 1 a month with all of our activities, all of which are canceled for April, so you know. But there will be more coming, and that's where you want to sign up. I have been posting once a day ideas for what you can do at home, not only for things, I know everyone's posting ideas for things you can do at home, but the cool thing is that you can then come and post the things that you do so that you can have some sort of social virtual connection with other people. So I put them up week 1s. I have uploaded into this blog. So it's a blog post of all the first week stuff. So if you're like, what, I loved this one, Stephanie, I thought of you.
I love it too.
That's fantastic.
It's so cute. And I thought, just take a picture of your toast and upload it to our Facebook page. And I have to say, my kids' Pokemon toast looked really good, but it needed company. Oh, this is Braylon Online. We did cute things for, you know, so anyways, if you missed one and you need inspiration, you can go here. Okay, by the way, we said may there always be, and people added what there may always be. And then Lauren Goodman from Press and Music Therapy recorded our version, and it's darling. It's right here. But you can hear all of the things that a lot of my kids said stuff, but we need your participation to get more than my kids. So anyways, today's was to have an indoor beach party because it was so awful outside. But anyways, some great ideas there. We can definitely keep doing these virtual chats because I think they're fun. I definitely need some practice facilitating the group, but I appreciate your patience with me. Mindy's just found boom cards. Tracy put a bunch of Facebook links about teleplay in the chat. Thank you. I will add the links for everything that I referenced. Sarah Roston says she's got some live events coming up for families. A lot of people are hosting, you know, live music classes and yoga classes, and we've been putting them on our website too, so, or on our Facebook group too, but our interactive post just a day or so ago was list them so that we can try to keep them in one spot. But anyways, thank you for participating. Is there anything that I missed? I mean, this is certainly not comprehensive. Chicago Feeding Group is having another chat next
Thursday.
I also don't know what day it is.
I know.
That was very helpful. Thank you. Next Thursday. So anyways, let us know if this is helpful, and as you continue to explore teletherapy, I just think this is such a hot topic. You know, someone posted the other day, I mean, we didn't get into the nitty gritty of all the insurance stuff coming out, and you know, it seems like hourly things are changing. So I guess stay tuned, share tips, and thank you all for participating, and thank you to yeah. So Melissa and Stephanie and Amy and Kim and Hillary, I'm going around my screen as I see you all. Thank you all very much, and for everybody who joined us, thanks so much. I'm going to end the chat.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. I'm going to end it.